Hello, it's been a while, I know. Sorry for that. I'm making this video to mark what today is, which is my second anniversary of my stem cell transplant. 2 years ago today, 24th of January, I was receiving my relatively small IV bag, which only looked about half full, of my sister's stem cells that were harvested from her the day before. And I was given intravenously at the time while I was in hospital, in between chemo, to try and hopefully graft a new immune system, which, as you can see, was thankfully successful. The following 2 years have been a mixed bag, shall we say. Obviously, 2 years ago was the beginning of 2020, and I think for all of us, we really didn't know what was coming and what life would look like. And for me, that has largely been a story of isolation, loneliness, anxiety, health anxiety, and also a chance, I guess, to better understand myself in some ways, particularly my own body, what I need, the things that are important to me. I think some of you are probably feeling that that might be a familiar process for you too, I think, during the numerous lockdowns and COVID. I have to say that it hasn't been an easy 2 years, my recovery. I've mentioned before that I've got graft versus host disease, which is a relatively common side effect of stem cell transplant recipients. It's when the new immune system effectively is a little bit too overreactive and starts attacking different parts of your body. Now, actually, doctors want that to happen a little bit because, particularly for people who are at risk of leukemia, which is often a reason why you have stem cell transplants, it means the immune system's active and any cancer cells or pre-cancer cells will be taken out. But for some more chronic GVHD, which unfortunately I have, it means that parts of my body get relatively constantly attacked. So in the initial months after the transplant, I had a lot of physical changes, which was a journey in itself to try and accept and try and come to terms with kind of this continual theme of, unfortunately, loss and grief that started to kind of perpetuate through the last 2 years. There was obviously COVID, isolating from friends and family, having to move in with my parents, which was part of the original plan, but now we're 2 years in instead of what was supposed to be a handful of months. It's been hard, I'm not going to lie, and it's part of the reason why I haven't posted here or made many videos, because part of me was like, honestly, what else is there to update? And the other part was just not in a place mentally to want to, frankly. And I was focusing on looking after myself, or worried about other people in the family, or just this health journey, of which I should probably give you an update. So the GVHD, unfortunately, I shouldn't try and be positive all the time. That's actually a very good life lesson in general for everyone. The whole positive mindset, permanently 100, 24/7, is never healthy. Your body needs to process all of the emotions, including anxiety, frustration, grief, anger. Otherwise, you're not happy. You're just putting on another mask, and I know that one too well. The GVHD took a bit of a turn for the worse at the end of the summer past and started to go for my lungs. See, I don't know if you can hear, I'm a little bit wheezy. And what that meant was that the immune system was attacking the bronchial tubes going into my lungs, causing inflammation very similar to asthma, but a bit different, with some kind of unique classic GVHD things mixed up in there. And it meant really that for a month or so, until I started a new treatment and medication, I was really struggling to do anything. I would be out of breath walking up one flight of short stairs. I couldn't exercise at all, which obviously when you're already locked down and isolated, there's very few things to do to keep your body and mind, particularly your mind, kind of active. I was very low and just struggling physically and mentally, which means I had to start new meds. Well, I've seen a lot more hospital appointments in the last few months. Back on steroids, the joy. So sleep is a bit of an issue, which never helps. And my ECP, which is the treatment I get, and you can see my poor blessed veins, is every 2 weeks still, to try and keep this GVHD under control. And the doctors are still discussing different treatment options with potential effects that they're hoping will kind of calm the lungs or the bronchial tubes, that I can get back to a more kind of normal life. Because unfortunately, the other side effect of being on steroids is quite a decent dose, is that it's another immunosuppressant, and I can't risk even catching a cold, which, it's January in the UK. That's already pretty risky as it is. That's not even to mention COVID, which thankfully I have a plan in place now. If I catch COVID, I have to go to a specialist hospital with specialist treatment, because unfortunately I am one of those people still, as are a few million people in the UK, who are still very vulnerable to COVID, even with vaccines, which are great, definitely recommend. I've had all my boosters, but it has meant that I've had to sacrifice, and my parents are staying with me, bless them, have had to sacrifice more in terms of isolation, social distancing, masks, cleanliness. I think all the things we never really gave up on anyway, to be honest, during this 2 year. We never had the opening up, go out and celebrate. I haven't been that lucky or privileged, to be fair. My health did not allow it. And this is where we're at. I'm slowly improving with my lungs, thankfully, with the drugs. I'm really hoping to get to a place where I can do more. I'm able to exercise a bit again. But it's a struggle, which makes marking something like this, a 2-year anniversary, struggle partly to deal with, because I feel like the expectation is to just be happy, or just happy, which obviously is in there, and a celebration maybe, like lots of nurses, I remember at the time, and doctors and others were like, oh, it's like a second birthday. I even called it a rebirth day, I think, last year, or some people call it a transplant anniversary. That one's hard to say. And that feels more hopeful, and it's not that I'm not so hopeful. I'm just now 2 years in this continual holding pattern, it feels like, this limbo of waiting for my life to form into some kind of normality that I can live, rather than at the moment, which is isolation and loneliness, and having to avoid people and not have contact with people because the risk is too great, which is sad and hard at times, and means my life is really taking each day at a time, and I try and take joy in the moments I can, in the things that I enjoy, which is usually geeky, or Korean dramas, or K-pop, or Star Trek. If you know me, you know me. They haven't changed. But it doesn't replace people and connection and family and relationships, and just the frustration of now wanting a life that's purposeful, if that's the right word or not. Wanting a sense of, greater purpose, or all those things that humans want, connection, relationships, goals, career, all those things we're told or want to have, but really just boils down in the end to, well, learning to love and live with yourself, and hopefully others, and hopefully someone special, which dating is most definitely not in the cards for me at the moment either. Unfortunately. Fortunately, because I am still the introvert who is who likes my own space, and I've probably spent too much time by myself now, and I'm stubborn, so things to work on. But yeah, I just wanted to mark today. I feel like it needed to be marked, and I'm hoping to maybe go to the beach, have a walk with my parents, do something to mark it. It's an important day, and it was one that was filled with so much anticipation and anxiety those 2 years ago, and I couldn't imagine what life would be like now. And it's interesting because I had a meeting and I had an appointment in hospital recently with a CNS. As a clinical nurse specialist, they often deal with mental health as well as kind of physical health, and they look out for patients. And I was looking for some help for my mental health because I had just been end of last year, I was really struggling, particularly when the lungs were bad, Christmas plans were all cancelled, COVID, bugs. It was just another lonely end to a year. We were just struggling, and she thankfully able to the NHS, God bless them, honestly, best people in the world. Despite all of its faults, that institution deserves all of our support, however we can give it, whether that's voting, money, do it. Because honestly, what better symbol to represent the best that humanity and this country can offer than to say universal healthcare, or the free at the point of access to everyone, regardless of age, condition, social status, money, ethnicity, race, sexuality, gender. Everyone deserves healthcare. That is been definitely reaffirmed in my life in the last 2 years. I'm so grateful for the treatment and amazing doctors, nurses, staff that I am very, very lucky to have access to, and very privileged in that sense compared to so many even in this country, let alone around the world. But it's still hard, and there's still times where I just want things to be so different that I have a little bit of a breakdown or cry, or everything just gets bottled up. And I'm glad I was able to talk to this CNS, and she actually asked me a question which no one really asks me, but I'm glad she did, because I do occasionally ask myself, not often, of do you regret getting a transplant, which you wouldn't think a nurse or a medical professional would ask you. And as I said to her, I was a bit taken aback, but told her I'm grateful you asked, because not many people do, and I do occasionally think about it. And while the logical kind of conclusion is I had no other option, I didn't have any other option. This rare genetic condition I have, and what my bloods were telling me was that I was already on the fast track to developing leukemia, and would mean I would need more chemo, and I would inevitably have to have a stem cell transplant anyway. So this looked like it was happening, and the other choice obviously was to choose not to be treated, which would have meant I don't know if I'd still be here, to be honest. If things hadn't panned out the way they are, I don't think previous me would even be able to handle COVID, let alone any of the other bugs that were constantly taking me out. But I'm glad she asked, because those emotions and feelings are still there. You still have days where you're frustrated and you're really angry and it just feels unfair. Life does. And you're just wondering, why can't things be better? Why aren't I better? Why has this taken so long? Why does it feel like I take one step forward and then it's 2 steps back? With my health, when will it get better? When will I have certainty? When will I live my life again? Will I be able to live my life again? What will my life look like? Will I ever have anything like I had before? All of these questions, all of these doubts, all of these worries, they come at you, and it can be overwhelming. But you can't just ignore them. And it's good to be able to ask you those questions. Ask yourself that question: do you regret it? Do I regret it? No. But I wish it was easier. I do wish it was easier. On me, my family. On me, mostly. I really have been through a lot, physically and mentally. And often at the same time. Not to mention all of other life stresses and anxieties and worries. But I don't regret it. And I'm here 2 years later. I'm looking a bit better. See, I've got longer hair now. It's a mop can actually tie up into a messy bun. Which is, good because it's fluffy as. Still getting used to it. Post chemo hair, it's not the same. And that's been a struggle. People might think it's superficial, but it's funny the things that you are attached to. Particularly getting to a place of recognizing yourself again, physically. Because lots of changes happen with chemo and GVHD. And that's hard. But it's kind of a lesson and a practice in self-care and self-love, the classics. But they are important. And it doesn't mean days aren't hard. And it doesn't mean there aren't days I don't want to look in the mirror or engage with that part of myself. I just want to escape, or I might just be feeling low and I'm going to binge listen Sarah Bareilles' Gravity or Park Hyo-shin's Wildflower and Sound of Winter on repeat. But I mean, what changes? Great songs, by the way. But yeah, I feel like I should wrap this up because I've been talking for a while now. Sorry for that. But I just wanted to check in. I wanted to mark this occasion. I wanted to give you an update for those who don't really know. And I'll let you know if things improve. Hopefully they will. Hopefully, maybe, let's face it, the next time I make one of these will probably be the 3rd anniversary. Next year. Hopefully. Hope. That's a good thought to end on.